Hey everyone, my name is Greg Vendetti and this is The Broken Record. Are you devoting a ton of time and a chunk of your life to a business idea? Keep watching because today we're going to talk about significantly reducing your risk of not making any money from it. As an entrepreneur, there is a ton that can trip you up and accelerate your downfall. Being underfinanced, having the wrong business partner, or a stubbornness towards the truth. A lot of business boils down to a science, and today we're going to stop lying to ourselves and we're going to talk about how to build a business through experiments. Let's get started. So you may have heard of the concept of a lean startup. This philosophy of building businesses through scientific methods actually stems from this guy named Steve Blank. He's a Stanford business professor and also an entrepreneur. He has a book called The 4 Steps to the Epiphany. Now, one of his students, Eric Ries, also made this hugely popular through his book, The Lean Startup. Both of these books I will provide a link for in the description below. But rather than go into a history lesson and all the intricacies and vast amounts of strategies that go in and around this type of philosophy, today we're going to be talking about the 3 most fundamental principles of it, so you can see at least how it can benefit you in building a business and hopefully encourage you to learn more. The first principle of this lean philosophy is that it is all about validating assumptions, testing your hypothesis. This is what the whole thing is about. It's so painful to see entrepreneurs try and muscle their idea into the marketplace and say, it's not my idea that's broken, it's the people who don't want it. This obviously just ignores the truth that no one's going to buy what you're offering because there's not enough value in it. And then someone will just carry on anyway, ignoring legitimate feedback and all indications that this cocktail napkin idea, as is, will fail. There is a staggering amount that goes into making a business successful, and it's unrealistic to just define what this idea will ultimately look like without proving its worth in the real world. So we have to start by defining the most fundamental assumption, the thing that will make or break us about our idea, put it out there, and see if we're right. You might have an awesome idea, or you might think you have an awesome idea, but if you're going to invest yourself in the emotionally draining roller coaster that is starting your own business, you're going to want to make sure your potential customers think it's awesome too. Now this brings us to our second principle, and that is customer development. Let's say that I want to open a storage facility in the next town over because I heard it was a great investment and I love the idea of owning my own business. Well, before I go to the bank and take out a $500,000 loan, I first have to validate the assumption that this is something that the people in the area will need and are willing to pay me for. Customer development starts with defining who your customers are or who you think they are going to be. So let's say I think that college parents will be included in my target market. I'm going to sit down with them and ask them unbiased, meaningful questions about whether or not this idea is going to actually make it. I might ask them, as a college parent, what was the most painful part of the logistical moving process of moving your kid in? And if they say the storage facilities by far, then we might propose our idea with a price tag. And if they leap across the table and say, that's exactly what we needed, why didn't this come into play when we were moving it in? Oh God, I have another kid moving in 4 years. Can I pay you now for that? That's our bellwether of success. That's what we want every single time. So we're going to connect with 10 other people, no less than 10 interviews face to face, and see if we get the same reaction across the board. Now this validates a ton of things, but primarily it validates if we're solving a big enough problem with our idea and if this customer that I think is going to be in my target market actually is in my target market. So we're going to conduct these interviews, and if we have enough validation over a course of these interviews, we might want to pursue the basic form of our idea, a prototype, or what in the lean startup world we call the minimum viable product. So after you've validated your most basic assumptions and made sure that there were customers willing and waiting to pay you for what you've concocted, it's now time to put it in the real world. A minimum viable product, or an MVP, should be the most simple shoestring form of your business idea with zero frills and a ton of imperfections. The purpose of this is to actually validate whether or not this business idea will work in the real world, but also enable us to learn about the opportunities and risks in building it. So for instance, let's say through my customer development interviews, I definitely validated the assumption that there's a need for storage in the area, but I also discovered a huge discomfort for the moving process itself. So my business idea evolved into a do-it-for-you storage and moving business, where we pick up your stuff and move it and store it for a flat fee. But again, before we can build the final version of our idea, we still have a lot to learn about how we're going to build it into something that will make money. So my MVP might be to rent a van, pick up the stuff, and store it in my friend's air-conditioned house for 3 months. Now, as a side note, this is where we would involve early adopters, people who are super passionate about what you're doing and see you as a solution for a painful enough problem that they're willing to go through this messy beginning phase in order to see it succeed. But through this process of using my MVP with early adopters, I can learn a ton about the challenges of transporting and storing boxes. I can see if my assumptions around fuel costs are correct. I can learn about pickup times and scheduling a fleet. I can see what bare necessities I'll need to build my facility in the future. We can build a business off of real life experience. So not only does this dramatically reduce risk, but also enables us to learn how we can best serve our customers. So guys, thank you again for watching. As always, hit that like button, share with others if you found it to be helpful. This is a very simple breakdown of this philosophy in this video, and I really encourage you to learn more about it if you're interested. It completely changed my perspective on business overall and how I'm actually building something from the ground up. But if there's anything that you're taking away from this video, it's that your business idea should be a living, breathing thing that evolves according to what customers are willing to pay for. So it's all about supply and demand, and your business idea should evolve to meet it. Once again, this is The Broken Record. Keep fighting and stay hungry.